In Pit Lane, proudly brought to you by Online Invent, websites, digital marketing and custom software. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane, coming to you from the studios, the fireproof studios of RMI TV Student Television here at RMI TV. It's part of Grand Prix City, Melbourne. We've had an interesting lead up to tonight's program. We've had fire alarms go off, we have all sorts of things. But coming up a little bit later on the show, well, apart from our regular co-host, back with us again once, Craig, Doc Latigo is with us. Doc, welcome back.
Thank you, Brett. Welcome, viewers. Great to be back. I've had enough of the buns and eggs. I want to rustle up some real horsepower now. Are we going to do some of that?
And we've got a couple of guests with us at the moment. We've got the first of all, we have to welcome Bear. Let's welcome Bear. Bear is with us tonight, and as you can see, Bear is. He
doesn't talk much, but he makes a big statement.
He makes a big statement. He's brought with him a very, very big trophy, and that's the first place in Class C for this year's Bathurst 6 Hour. And he's also brought along one of the drivers who won that particular trophy, and that is Mark Taubitz. He's going to be joining us a little bit later on in the program to tell us about his adventures at Bathurst, racing in the Porsche 944 series coming up this weekend at Winton as well, and his new toy, which would be familiar to some of our older viewers on In Pit Lane. But it's been a huge weekend of motorsport around Australia, particularly around the world. Let's find out what's been happening once again with the In Pit Lane Motorsport News.
The Victorian State Government has announced plans for a new home of motorsport to be constructed at the Avalon Airport precinct. Wowee! The support for the new venue comes after Motorsport Australia's nomination of Avalon as the preferred location. A new home of motorsport was listed as a priority in the recently announced Victorian Motorsport Infrastructure and Participation Strategy, which will help to sustain the high number of motorsport events held in Victoria from grassroots to elite level. Minister for Tourism, Sport and Major Events, Steve Dimopoulos, has committed $1.6 million to the next stage of the project, which will involve designing and planning for the new circuit. The facility is expected to cost up to $250 million and could be open for racing as soon as 2026. Whoa, that's close. The government hopes the facility will support the development of up-and-coming local drivers and provide economic benefits for the state and the region.
Well, it might not be all smooth sailing for the new complex, however, with opposition expected to grow, fuelled primarily by the Murdoch media. An article in the Herald Sun last week has raised issues around the project regarding the government's close links with Linfox and the appointment of Tim Bamford as project manager. Mr Bamford, who previously served as Executive Director of Major Projects Victoria, had been criticised by the then Auditor-General for spending almost $2.8 million a year on 9 top employees and contractors, all while the number of major projects managed by the organisation was decreasing. At this stage, it's also unclear what the state opposition's position is on the project. Shadow Minister for Sport Sam Groth has been contacted for comment by In Pit Lane, but as we record tonight's show, he has not yet responded.
The Red Bull Moto Grand Prix of the Americas saw Alex Riedens win a Honda for the first time this season after Francesco Bagnaia Old Checo crashed out of the lead, unfortunately. Luca Marini finished second, continuing the podium streak for Valentino Rossi's VR46 team, while Fabio Quartararo picked up his first podium of the year. Australia's Jack Miller crashed out of contention for a podium position, promoting Quartararo to third. Maverick Vinales finished fourth after a strong recovery, while Miguel Oliveira and Marco Bezzecchi took fifth and sixth place respectively. The race was chaotic, with 9 riders falling in the race.
Meanwhile, Matt Hillier has won the second round of the Australian Formula Ford Series at Sydney Motorsport Park with a sixth-place finish in the final race. Hillier had earlier won races 1 and 2, beating his Sonic teammate and recent guest on In Pit Lane, Connor Summers. Zach Lobko finished third in the final race. Zach Lobo finished third. In the final race, Hillier led early but lost the lead to Lobko before a clash between the two saw Hillier drop to sixth. Lobko won the race with Kobe Williams second and Lachlan Strickland third. The result gave Hillier the round win, followed by Lobko and Summers. In the Kent class, Thomas Kalamakis won both races ahead of Will Liston.
Porsche won its first IMSA race of the modern era with victory in the Long Beach sprint race. The Penske team gambled on not changing tyres in the 100-minute race, what a gamble, but it paid off, to take the win for the BMW team, with Australia's Matt Campbell in third place in the second Penske Porsche. Later that weekend, Porsches were in action again, this time in World Endurance Championship in Portugal, and it's there we kick off this week's International Wrap.
Brendan Hartley, Sebastian Buemi and Rio Hirakawa celebrated victory in the 6-hour Supportamo, round 2 of the FIA World Endurance Championship. The hypercar podium saw 3 different manufacturers, Toyota, Ferrari and Porsche, represented on the podium for the first time this season. Buemi, who started the race in the number 8 Toyota, dropped to third at the start, but soon fought back and passed early leader Mike Conway in the number 7 Toyota. The number 7 car would struggle later with mechanical issues and fell back to finish in 9th place. United Autosports took a much-needed 1-2 in LMP2 to banish the memory of a tough Sebring for the team. Olivier Jarvis, Guido van der Garde and Josh Pearson headed the number 22 car of Phil Hansen, Frederick Lubin and Ben Hanley to take the win by just over 600th of a second. In GTE, the Corvette racing entry driven by Ben Keating, Nicholas Verona and Nicky Katzberg held on in a thriller. The AF Corsa Ferrari of Alessio Rivera chased Katzberg in the final lap in a grandstand finish which saw the top 2 cars separated by just 200th of a second.
Wow.
Kyle Larson secured his second NASCAR win for the 2023 season at Martinsville Speedway after overtaking Joey Logano in the final laps of the race. Logano held on for second with Martin Truex Jr. rounding out the podium. Pole sitter Ryan Preece won the first stage but finished the race in 15th after receiving a pit lane speeding violation. Kyle Kirkwood, driving for Andretti Autosport, has won his first IndyCar Series race with a win in the Long Beach Grand Prix. Starting the race from pole, Kirkwood managed to stretch his middle stint 1 lap further than his competitors, putting him in a good position to take the win. The only time Kirkwood looked to be in trouble was when Joseph Newgarden took the lead after Kirkwood got tangled up in a scrap with 2 other cars. Kirkwood regained the lead after Newgarden had to make his second pit stop. Kirkwood was followed over the line by his Andretti Autosport teammate Romain Grosjean. Championship leader Marcus Ericsson was third. It was a tough weekend for Pato O'Ward, who was involved in 2 incidents, which included contact with a furious Scott Dixon. Speaking after the race, O'Ward said that he wouldn't be apologising to Dixon, putting the incident down to just hard racing. Dixon, however, disagreed. It was a historic double for Tony Stewart Racing on Sunday at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, as NASCAR Hall of Famer Tony Stewart and funny car points leader Matt Hagan both claimed victories in front of a capacity crowd at the NHRA 4 Wide Nationals. Stewart, who made his NHRA debut last season in the top alcohol dragster, won in just his 4th career start. Hagan strengthened his points lead in funny car with his 3rd win of the first 4 races in what's been a dominant start to the 2023 season. Antron Brown claimed his first win of the Top Fuel season, delivering his best run of the day in a star-studded final that also featured Steve Torrance, Brittany Force and Josh Hart. In Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn got his redemption from last year's 4 Wide race in Las Vegas, picking up his 2nd straight win in his Camaro to hold off Troy Coughlin. You're watching In Pit Lane. When we come back, we'll be joined by the winner of Class E at this year's Bathurst 6-hour race, Mark Taubitz. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Yes, and once again, we must say thank you to Online Invent. Now, I mentioned at the start of the program, if some of you were watching on Facebook a little bit earlier, for those of you who are out there, you'd have seen us sort of, literally out on the street, out at Swanson Street, because we had, I think it's the third time in the history of the program, we had the fire alarms went off here just before we were about to go to air. So thankfully we are back here. Obviously we're back in the studio now, but it's been an interesting start to the night and has put us a little bit behind. But we must say thank you, of course, to Roy and everybody at Online Invent for their support for the program. The program simply would not be happening again this year if it wasn't for the fact that Roy has been supporting us over this first season and later on in the year as well. Also, I'll just let you know that coming up. We're coming up to the end of our studio season here at RMITV in the studio in Grand Prix City, Melbourne. But coming up over the winter, we've got In Pit Lane, the winter hibernation. That's going to happen. That's going to be happening at the end of May, and we'll have all sorts of specials that'll be taking place over that particular time.
While we're doing some shameless self-promotion, also to be mentioned.
That wasn't shameless. It was. I felt utterly humiliated.
Did you?
I need a shower now.
You sound sincere. However, you'd look it too.
Hey, listen,
just for a brief moment, don't put the camera on.
The most important thing in show business is sincerity, and if you can fake that. Yeah. You got it made.
Stare that in the barrel all the time. Just quickly, while we're going to do a shameless plug, this week and the last week as well, though, too, we're famous in America now as well, too. Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings joined us on the show, I think, in episode 2 of this year, 2023 season. We're part of their promotional YouTube channel as well too. So I think Custom 187. Sean who was here Murdenova has put his the visit to Melbourne in and has got a lot of the stuff behind the scenes here on In Pit Lane from their visit here. And so if you'd like to have a look at some more of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and a bit of fun
with the guys from Street Outlaws, then you can see that on their YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to watch the actual show that we did with them, you can see that on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. But right now, we should be just. We've got a song, haven't we? Yes, of course. I'm completely thrown.
That's all right. It's been one of those third time lucky fire nights.
It's
right. The trophy looks in good nick still for trophy's fireproof.
Yes, Bear has been very... Bear was here. We were very worried because both Bear and the trophy were here during the whole chaotic...
They're wondering if Bear needs to be on the desk.
Oh, Bear needs to be on the desk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, Bear needs to be on the desk.
He's got a lot to say. He's making a statement.
Now, do we have on graphics all our details of our music tonight and upcoming details? Because I don't have anything in front of me. This is because we've had no rehearsal, we've had nothing.
And didn't have time for an auto cue to
didn't have time to whack it in. We haven't whacked it into the auto cue or anything. I don't think we have. Phil, have you put details of our music in tonight?
Can you help us out, Phil? Can you give us? Oh, there we go.
Well, we've got some upcoming gigs coming up Saturdays at Q Barbecue at where's Q Barbecue at Mulgrave? That's out my way. And Sunday at Beach 162 Frankston.
That's my way.
That's your way.
We both go to a gig each.
2:30 to 5:30. New Zealand, that's probably Bear will fly over.
I was going to say,
it's a bit far for us to commute, as much as I...
Well, he's...
And there you can find out...
It's cheap for luggage if we send Bear over through a luggage section. He's under 10 kilos.
Yeah, he travels cheaply. And if you'd like to catch up with Mary, she's you saw all of her details there. So anyways, this is for a bonus for everybody watching at home now. This is Mary Vanderhorst and, well, her first song.
Every time I see you, I lose control. I feel so alive, the stress is gone. Every time I see you, it feels so strange. are my life. You are so special, I feel so alive. You are my heart, and I can't deny. My heart is saying, you are the one. You are the one. And I say, I wanna see you. I wanna kiss you. I wanna feel. I wanna feel. I wanna touch you. I wanna feel you. Every time you touch me, it feels so good, yeah. I feel so alive. I don't know why. Come here closer. Show me what you got. I feel the warmth of your love. Let's make love. Oh, you are my love. You are my life. You are so special. I feel so alive. You are my heart, and I can't deny. My heart is saying, you are the one. You are the one. And I say, I wanna see you. I wanna kiss you. I wanna feel. I wanna kiss. I wanna touch. I wanna feel. I wanna see you. I wanna kiss you. I wanna touch you. I wanna feel you. I wanna kiss you. I wanna touch you. I wanna feel you. I wanna feel.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, a couple of weeks ago up at Mount Panorama, we had the Bathurst 6 Hour. It really is sort of, Bathurst for the rest of us. It's going back to the tradition of the original Bathurst 500 when you had production cars racing. It was like, race on Sunday, buy on Monday. That was always the sort of background of that particular race. And the other good thing is, of course, is they have classes. And although he didn't win outright, he's got a very, very impressive trophy, which he's brought in tonight as part of the winning team in Class E. And to find out all about that and his other adventures, all things motorsport, please welcome Mark Taubitz. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Now, tell us first of all. Let's start with Bear first. I mean, because Bear is starring in tonight's program. You brought in the trophy with Bear. The two of them go together, really.
He hasn't let it go since we got the trophy last on Easter Sunday. He's been pretty inseparable from the trophy, Brett. So. Yeah, we'll have to try and prize it out of his hands so the rest of us can have a go.
That's a long hangover, Mark, but it's a pretty big cup there. He must be pretty impressed.
He's been drinking out of it, I think, the whole time. So, yeah.
So he's Andrew. He's one of your co-drivers. He's his sort of mascot?
It's his, mascot, companion. So, Bear comes to all of our Porsche 944 races that we go to. And, he certainly made the trip with us to Bathurst. And, he was never far away from the cameras. He likes the limelight. Hence, he's turned up here today. We tried to close the doors, and he found his way into the car and made his way into the studio today.
And he wouldn't leave when the fire alarm went off. He stayed here, which is very brave of him indeed.
Great firefighter he is.
Yeah, very brave.
Now you mentioned 944s because you weren't driving a 944 at Bathurst. You were driving a Mazda. Tell us about the car you were driving and how did all that happen?
So we were driving the little Mazda 3 SP25. So Andrew went up and crewed at the 2022 Bathurst 6 Hour with David Brown and James and Michael Holloway in a Class D Toyota Celica. Loved it and said when he came back, he said, we've got to do this. And it wasn't long afterwards the car that won Class C was put up for sale, and Andrew spoke about it with myself and Cameron Bella, who we all raced together in the Porsche 944s, and did a deal. We bought the car. We started plans to do this year's race.
And it was a close finish, wasn't it?
It was in the end, yeah. It was only a few car lengths between us and the other car that was basically identical car that was running in Class E. Unfortunately, there was a multi-car team of the Suzukis that pulled out just before the event. That would have made the class a little bit more sort of happening in the class, I guess. But I think the Mazdas have been the weapon of choice in the class for the last number of years. So both cars run pretty faultlessly, so I think they would have been hard to beat in any case. Speaking of faultlessly, it wasn't just your faultlessly problems that you had to deal with as well, though, too. There were some personal milestones, and there was also some team milestones. It wasn't all smooth sailing to win it, was it? It wasn't. No, you're right. We did have a few issues to overcome. So an early, we went back down a lap in the first safety car, where we got overtaken by the safety car when we were in having our first CPS, compulsory pit stop. And we basically had the whole race that we were working hard to try and get that lap back, and it took us until basically the close of hour 5 when we managed to get that lap back, and then then it was game on. Now, you mentioned the 944s. I mean, the three of you racing 944s, and coming up this weekend at Winton, the next round of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship. The 944s, what's the situation with them at the moment? I mean, because they started out as a really cheap, a cheapish way to go sports car racing, and now these things are classics in their own right. I mean, so is it becoming harder and harder to get these cars and keep them on the racetrack, or do people want to buy them back and whack them on the road? It's been interesting. Yes, the road car value certainly during COVID went up significantly, but they've probably settled a little bit now. But race cars are race cars, so they haven't sort of gone through the roof. So they're still fairly affordable for the amount of performance we get out of the 944s in terms of the lap time. They're still affordable for someone who wants to get into a car. There's a few you can pay more money and get a top level car that will give you no excuses for if you're not winning races or in the pointy end. But you can certainly still pick up an entry level car that maybe needs a little bit of tweaking, hasn't got the latest Motec data and dash management system, things like that, and still go around and certainly be competitive. And if you're a good enough driver, you'll drag it into the top half of the field, I'm sure. So what are the numbers like now? We've probably got about close to 30 drivers that are active and sort of members with the category still. We've got 18 cars entered for this round at Winton, and that includes 3 guys who weren't present at the first round. So we expect that we're going to have numbers probably in the mid-20s by the time we get to Phillip Island for round 3. We've got a few cars that are coming back. A couple of drivers have just acquired new cars and pulling them out, dusting the cobwebs off, and coming back and racing for Phillip Island as well. So we look forward to good entries there. There's been some great highlights on the calendar the last couple of years. You did Stuttfest, I think, early last year, back in 2022. Well, you're on there, and also the Shannon Series as well, too. How are you? You're president of also the club. Sorry to mention it, but yeah, you do have a heavy representation. I suppose you have a lot of support from the committee and also the 30 drivers. Are you happy where you're sitting at the moment, on the calendar and the tracks you're on and where you're travelling to? Look, I think, we are. The Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships is fantastic, and it's quite a prestigious, it's probably the best state racing series in Australia in regards to the category and the organisation, and obviously the tracks that we get to run on. We're very fortunate that we've got 3 and hopefully 4 tracks this year that we'll be able to race on with Calder Park coming hopefully back on track. So it's really, really enjoyable. As you said, we've done the Shannon's Nationals in the past on a couple of events. We've also done Historic Sandown in the past. So it's good to do some of those other categories. We've gone interstate. We've raced at Malala, we raced at the Bend, and we're looking at doing other sort of interstate opportunities as well. It's just got to work in with the calendar. Our priority has been the Vic State Championships because they've supported us and we want to support them as well. Awesome. But yeah, it's a fantastic series. I've been part of it now for 10 years this year, made some fantastic friends and some fantastic experiences and some great racing that we have, and that's what we're all there for. Well, you certainly like variety in terms of your motor racing. I mean, you've got the Mazda that you ran at Bathurst, you've got the 944 that you'll be running again this weekend at Winton, and when we come back after the break, we're going to find out about a car that well, as I said, some of you may remember from a while ago, and certainly is a little bit faster perhaps than either a 944 or the Mazda. Mark, stay with us. You stay with us at home when we come back here on In Pit Lane. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, our guest tonight is Mark Taubitz, and coming up a little bit later on in the program to take us out, we'll have music from Mary Ann Vanderhorst as well. But Mark, we mentioned before the program your Mazda that you raced at Bathurst, the 944 at Winton this weekend. But you've got another car just around the corner. It's particularly one with a particularly famous and interesting history, and that's the ex-Joe Perotta, Stephen Vines, Glenn Hastings, Simon Evans. I'm sure I've missed out people
now
there
Mark
as
Taubitz.
well.
Yeah.
Mark Taubitz, Cortina Sports Sedan. Tell us about how you got that.
Basically, it's the car came up for sale a couple of years back, and I saw the car when it raced at Sandown with Simon Evans driving it when it first came back, and fell in love with the car. A TC Cortina was my first car, and my third car, and my fourth car, and my fifth car, and also my brother's car. So had a bit of an attraction to the car and a bit of a love affair with them. So. I saw Simon driving the car down the back straight and overtaking about 5 cars down the back straight, so I thought it was fantastic. And when it came up for sale, I balked at it at first, and in the end, logic or the lack thereof, coerced me into buying it. We've been doing a little bit of work just getting it prepped and changing some things that need to just be new seats and belts and just tweaking a couple of little things, some new tyres, and it's ready to hit the track. Now we just need the right timing and some good weather, and it'll be out there, and hopefully it'll be out in the race circuit very soon.
Doc?
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's got a rich history as well associated with the program as well too. Well, apparently we have to get our decorators and the paintwork out. You need some new decals and stickers for it as well though too. In Pit Lane's associated with it back way long ago.
Absolutely, yep. No, it's still in the same paint scheme, still in the same yellow, Perotta yellow that Joe said. He said that it was. The colour, he was told, he painted the car yellow because it was going to stand out most for his wife to be able to see the car when he's racing around in it. So that's why the car's been painted yellow the whole time in its existence.
Well,
preferential first track. Where do you want to go to? Sandown, Phillip Island. Come on, you got to pick a track.
I think I'm just going to ease in nice and toe in the water, not in the deep end. So we'll probably just take it to Winton just to get a bit of a feel. As Brett said, it's 700 plus horsepower in a fairly light car. There's a lot more than 160 odd in the 944. So.
Well, it is. It's a very good quick car, as we saw in the hands of Simon, as you said when he raced it. Good luck with this weekend for a start. Congratulations to you, to Bear, to Andrew, and to Cameron for your win at Bathurst. And best of luck with the Cortina. But for now, Mark Taubitz, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
And thank you to you at home. Now, next week on the program, we're not in the studio next week because next Tuesday, of course, is Anzac Day, and RMIT is, of course, closed for the day. So next week, it'll be a surprise program because if I don't know what the hell it is, you have absolutely no idea, okay? But I know that taking us out right now, we've got some lovely music from Mary Ann Vanderhorst, and she's all over the place. She's on social media. She's got upcoming gigs coming up Saturdays at Q Barbecue at Mulgrave, also Sunday at Beach 162 Frankston. And she's even going, for all of our viewers in New Zealand, of which there are in fact a couple, she'll be there on April the 30th. But right now, she's going to take us out on the program. So until we see you next week, from all of us at In Pit Lane, it's good night. And this is Mary Ann Vanderhorst and Better Us. Good night.
truly so never.